Welcome back to the X Podcast. Sitting here with my friends. Been eating some fried spicy chicken in Nashville. Actually, only you did.
No, he had chicken.
I did.
Oh, you did?
No,
Yeah.
we had Hattie B. Did you not have any?
Did I?
I think you did. Hattie B's. You had it. So
Had
that
a
was
little bit. I was so full from
from
that
lunch.
Blanco
I
taco
know.
spot. Honestly, I think I lost my appetite for 3 days. that was so good, but so much.
Yeah.
But we're getting back into the swing of things. But wanted to have a pretty important conversation. You know, it's crazy. We started this podcast. What was it? It was in 2020. It was the fall of 2020.
Okay.
And we started it for several reasons, but you know, one of them was to have a place to process things that we wouldn't really be able to process on Sundays. And of course, at that time, you had everything with COVID, you had, you know, everything civil rights, all that. And since then, it just feels like since 2020, it has just been every year of just stuff that's going to make the history books.
Yeah.
Whether it, you know, Russia invading Ukraine. It was 6 months after we started the podcast that we were processing and unpacking January 6th. All the political stuff since then, Israel, Palestine. And at times we've made the joke that we have to stop using the phrase unprecedented or there's so much happening in the world. But the last 2 or 3 weeks have been, I think, actually history-marking moments and really, really pivotal intersection in our culture and something that probably will go beyond just this one episode to talk about, and that is the assassination of Charlie Kirk and everything that's come out of it. And obviously there's so many layers to this. There's so much that I know both of you, all three of us, we've received a lot of emails, texts, talking to people in our lives about, processing, watching all the reaction about. And so a whole lot of places we could go and things we want to talk about, but kind of just want to start back at the beginning. The day it happened was September 10th, I believe. And I first saw one of my buddies, he posted, "Pray for Charlie Kirk." And I didn't really know what had happened, but just maybe start with you two, like the day, that whole day as it happened, as the news came in, your reactions, how you process that.
Oh, you want me to go?
We both found out at the same time.
Yeah, we got a text from
Hunter.
I think it was Hunter and Chance. Might have been in the group chat.
And maybe you can talk about too, like how you found out, your initial reaction. Were you aware? Because I heard a lot of people say, "Oh, until this happened, I didn't even really know who he was." But yeah.
Yeah, so we found out at the same time. I had been very aware of who Charlie Kirk was. I've been following him for some time, just looking to learn and process just this cultural moment, where we're at, his message. He's been obviously a very, at this point, I think we all are aware of his impact on culture and society. So I don't know if I need to delve into all that. But just for me, I was trying to learn what I could from him and his perspective. And so, yeah, it was in the afternoon-ish sometime, I think, whenever we found out. We got a text and went in and started processing with Chance and Hunter a little bit, like what does this mean and what's going on and what's happening and all the different things. I will say I did see the video. We can talk about that maybe down the road, the impact of social media through this process. But I did see, and I saw the close-up video too. I saw the close-up video. So I know there's multiple different angles and some further away and some closer. And but yeah, I just remember like, yeah, this is big. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
Big moment. Heavy day. It also just happened to coincide with that day. There was a lot of heavy things that happened within the context of just our local community, like people that we know within our own church community who were dealing with some like heavy issues, some heavy things like suicide and medical emergencies and things like that. And then so it was just over the course of the day, it just seemed like there was multiple events happening that were just like both on a national level and a local level that were just really heavy. So I remember going to bed that night just like, oh my gosh, like this is a crazy day.
Yeah. I mean, I found out with you and I immediately, like, I'm in search mode. Like, what happened? You know what I mean? I saw the video that kind of stopped when he was shot, but it wasn't up close or anything like that. And
So you didn't see the up close one?
yeah, I did later,
You did.
but I didn't see it at that time. And it was just like they rushed him to the hospital and pray for him. And I did. I stopped in a moment and I was like, because I know who he is. I don't, probably don't follow him maybe as close as you did, but I knew who Charlie Kirk was. I knew he was a voice for the conservative political movement. And that I knew what I knew of him was he loved to go and engage in dialogue on college campuses. And that's a pretty challenging environment to go and do what he does. And so it was not only that, but also the same day we got texts that the shooting in Evergreen, which we've been to Evergreen and stayed with some friends of our church, that their kid was at the high school when the shooting happened. And so I reached out to her and I'm like, I heard this. Are you okay? Is everything fine? I'm just praying for your family. So even that night we went for a walk, Lorelai and I, and just kind of just felt the weight of all of that. Like there's just so much going on. And I felt almost immediately like this is significant. I thought what he represented, even in politics and in his faith, but what he represented to me was so different, unique, because we had an assassination of a state senator, Melissa Hortman, a few months ago. It was just brutal. And then an attempted assassination on 2 other people at that same time by that same guy. And yet there's just something about this. He wasn't a politician. Might have been it someday, but he wasn't a politician. And it felt like this was obviously losing a man who believed and followed Jesus, who had a wife, who I heard his wife and his kids were at the event. Like
that's been debunked.
Has that been debunked?
That's been debunked.
I'm kind of glad for that, because when I heard that, I'm like, I could not imagine a family member seeing that or seeing that to your family member. Like that would just be horrifying. And so like all of those things. And then also to me, what this represented was an assault on free speech. Just here's somebody who's sharing his opinion about something, debating people in a public arena, and gets taken out. And I thought that's why I was like, this is really significant. This is bigger than I had no idea how big it was going to be, but I knew at the moment, I'm like, this feels different. Then
go ahead. The last domino on that day. You brought up the school shooting in Denver, but that was also the day. It was several weeks after the event that happened, but it was also about the time that the news cycle was catching up that the stabbing had happened on the train in Charlotte as well.
I thought that was earlier that week on Monday.
Yeah, it had come out earlier, but it feels like it was really starting, like you saw commentators, influencers, people really speaking to that event around the same time that this happened. So,
and I remember telling you, I didn't, because I didn't know it happened, but you were like, oh yeah, that happened a few weeks ago. But for me, I told both of y'all, to me, the whole day, it was weird. From the moment I woke up, felt so heavy. And part of it was, I don't know why it all of a sudden hit that morning, but I saw about the stabbing in North Carolina. And for some reason, it is so weird because there's just horrific violence every day. But that just had me almost nauseous. And I don't know why, that just whole story, I am very thankful. I didn't see that video or the up close Charlie Kirk video, and I am
pretty brutal.
Grateful that I didn't see either one. But that just had me heavy. And then there was the school shooting, and then I see my friend post pray for Charlie Kirk. And to be honest, at first I'm like, okay, what's happening? Was there a heckler at a he's an activist? Is there a heckler at some event? And then when I heard that he was shot. Like you, I was very aware of him, but more adjacent. Like he wasn't my go-to listen, but I was very aware of him and the things he said and promoted. But I just felt that gut drop, and I really did. I begged God for a miracle. For God to spare him. And then I heard really what had happened, that, the way he'd been shot, and that there really was, barring a miracle, no hope. And I remember I was pulled into the driveway of my house when I think it was Trump first came out. He did. Maybe before it was officially official, and said Charlie Kirk is dead, and my heart just dropped. And And again, not because he was my, go-to person, but honestly, just on a human gut level, it really did break my heart. I felt, like you said, the enormity of the moment, but I felt this is a young man, father, husband, human, and then a few hours later, I'm at the gym, and it's weird that for me the transition that day, heaviness all day, heartbroken over Charlie Kirk. By the time I'm at the gym and I'm on social media, a pit in my stomach that the moment we're in culturally is about to get explosively divisive. And so that's what I'm curious to ask y'all next, of what it felt like. You as a leader, especially probably more than the two of us, feel like you need to post, but it's probably not somebody that you listen to a lot or knew a ton about, and you're starting to see all the divisiveness online. You even hear stuff as dark and sad as people celebrating it, which I feel like my social media feed's pretty evenly divided, but thankfully I didn't see any of that. I didn't see anybody that was actually celebrating the death.
I did. People shared it with me. Wasn't in my algorithm either, but I think on our same text thread, Chance said something. I remember one of them sent us a thread of somebody celebrating it, like one or two, and that I felt was pretty despicable. I gotta be honest, that bothered me a lot. That it was such an unhuman response. That you would, the people were glad. I saw one video where this guy on a college campus was asking people walking by, have you heard Charlie Kirk died? Right after. I mean, it was like that day or the day after. And it was like, did you hear they died? And people were walking by, good. And I'm like, wow. I can't believe it. We've gotten to a place where we're so callous toward people that are different views or whatever, that we're like, I'm glad they're dead.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just pretty shocking, honestly, to see.
I heard somebody say, if there was anything in your gut reaction of pleasure, then you can know there's something dark in you.
Yeah.
But I think I'm glad I didn't see that. But what I did see a lot of too, that to me was, I won't say equally disturbing, but again, talking about the divisiveness of the moment, I saw either people that were inhumane in their response towards what happened to him as a human being, and then on the right, a lot of, oh, this is war.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And this is it, and it's time to draw a line in the sand. And I'm starting to see that, and I don't know about my stomach just began to churn. And it happened on a Wednesday, and I remember I actually, for my sake, I was like, I actually made a commitment. I stayed off social media from Wednesday night to Sunday night because I could just feel it in me, and I'm like, I know that I'm still going to see the news, and I was still on news. And honestly, I spent the whole weekend looking up Charlie Kirk clips. He's so controversial.
Yeah.
But curious for you, just even as leader, both of y'all, how you began to process seeing all that you saw on social media, your own process and thinking through it all, especially even just going into that first weekend, because so much has happened even since then. But
what about you and just the response?
I definitely saw the video that was sent in our group chat. And I think it was just one TikTok of people celebrating. To be honest, I did not go and search for more videos of people celebrating. I didn't see any other, there was nobody on my personal algorithm or in my personal social media bubble that I've curated that was celebrating his death. I'm not saying it doesn't exist globally or it's out there. I didn't see a ton of it. But anyone who would be doing that is just, what are we doing? What's going on in that moment? What I did see that is a nuance to that, though, is I did see a lot of people saying it's sad that a human died, but then they would add a bunch of clarifiers. But he was this, but he was that, but he was that. And even that, I'm like, there's room for that conversation later. Just in the immediacy of the moment, why do we have to rush to define his legacy and the man that he was? Why can't we just, for a second, just sit and just sit with the fact that someone just died?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense or not.
I felt a deep frustration that I felt the need to preface anything that I was going to post that night.
Mm-hmm.
I think I ended up just sharing your post, which I thought what you said was beautiful. You know, you clearly rejected the evil that
Yeah.
happened. You called Charlie Kirk by name.
Yep.
So we'll get to that in a minute. Some people are big on that. You called by name, prayers for the family, rejected the evil of it. But he was a very controversial figure, and people have very clear opinions, one way or the other, on who he was. And I wanted time to process, pray. I was adjacent aware of him, but hadn't watched full messages from him. And so, I'm so careful, not in a fear way, but I just care so much about the message of Jesus and people I know that are far from God that I just want to be careful. But at the same time, I knew this was a big moment in time, and he was a human being and a husband and a father and somebody that, from my understanding, loved Jesus. And so I shared your post, but it actually made me angry that I thought, oh, why do I feel this need to preface what I may or may not agree with him on to just recognize life?
Yeah. I think it's important. I'll just reference it. This is what you put out on that day. I'm going to read it just so people understand what some of the immediate reaction was. Our only path forward isn't a response of violence, but repentance. Our country needs Jesus. This week has been a heavy reminder of the evil in our country. First, the brutal stabbing of a Ukrainian refugee on a train in North Carolina. Then today I hear about another shooting at a high school in Denver. And now I see the horrific video of Charlie Kirk being killed at a college rally. Why? This violence is heartbreaking. Our only path forward isn't a response of violence, but repentance. Join me in praying for these families and for the state of our nation. That's what you put out that first day as it was happening. And I thought it was great too. Like what he said, I shared the same post. I think it was good just without...
You haven't even had time to process the implications of these things. And there's a sense that if you don't post something, you don't do something, then you're complicit in your silence.
Yeah, but
politically somehow.
Maybe.
That's just the pressure that we feel.
Yes.
I may not be how everybody sees it, but it is how a lot of people see it when it comes to certain leaders. And it didn't help that there were pastors and certain influencers that were ramping up the rhetoric to create that as well immediately. And you haven't even had a chance to kind of process what it is. I was aware of him. I'd seen clips with him. I'd seen some clips prior to this, but like everybody, well, even if you didn't go looking for it, they showed up in your feed immediately. Like even if you didn't go looking for clips of Charlie Kirk, everybody started posting, this is why I agreed with him. This is why this is why it's hard for me to, people were posting all this stuff and putting the clips out there.
I told Pastor
I'm mourning him, but this is why we can't celebrate him, like all these different things.
I told Pastor Jack, I went into that weekend and I thought to myself, I don't know if this means maybe I'm just not an intelligent person or I'm just, or what it is. But it seems like everybody is just so certain. Like everybody seems so certain of what the response should be. And I'm like, man, I feel like the older I get, the more like because what I did that weekend is I actually, just on as far as Charlie Kirk, I'm always so scared of algorithms and what they do to you. So I literally went on and watched a ton of videos by people that hate Charlie Kirk. And then I went on and watched a ton of videos by people that love Charlie Kirk. Because I just know we as human beings, just scientifically, we are prone and vulnerable to the algorithms. And to have just, our stances reinforced and defended. And I think this whole situation is probably just more complex than the certainty with which people speak. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you agree? How do you process? And I know we all want to, have a modicum of not just sharing anything and everything we've felt, but like Charlie Kirk, like what did you think when you would listen to him? What did you think as far as just, the whole thing?
Are you asking me what I think about the need to respond or say something quickly, or are you asking me about what I thought about Charlie Kirk?
Charlie Kirk.
Okay. Man, I as someone who followed him, like I said, a lot, I was always impressed with his ability to communicate what he believed in. communicate that like in a very succinct and clear way. I appreciated that. I appreciated his boldness in standing up for what he believed in when it comes to his faith. I appreciated his willingness to go and engage in conversation with other people and have a conversation with other people about his differences and where he was at. I think there are some parts of Charlie Kirk's faith that I agreed with, but in particular, as it was working out towards politics, there are some moments I disagreed with him, but I think that's okay. I don't have to have 100% unity with someone to not appreciate who they were and what they stood for. And I think there was also some moments where I'm like, gosh, his boldness and clarity is really needed in this moment. But there's also some times in the way that he debated and the way that he would carry himself that I was like, is this response or is the way he's saying it something that I would do or something that I would resonate with in the time? But I processed all of that through the lens of like, Charlie Kirk seems to be operating in, at least from my perspective, and I didn't know him personally. I didn't know who he was behind closed doors, but he was someone who seemed to have found the lane that he felt God had called him to be in and was operating in that to the best of his ability. And I think you could even tell, I've been following him for some time, just as he was only 31. Honestly, he was brilliant. You hear the stories of like him starting off at 18, choosing to not go to college, and then what he started with Turning Point USA, and how he built it and where he built it to. I think I would have loved to have seen the final outworking and maturing and sanctification of Charlie Kirk in his walk with Jesus and how it came across and came out in the way he debated and talked with people. And I felt like even we were watching him continue to shift and grow and mold and change in ways that I was appreciating and I valued. And so I think on the whole, I resonated with a lot of where he stood from a faith standpoint. There were some things, again, politically, we could maybe agree to disagree on. But I think Charlie, from what I have come to understand and even come to see, like, I think he would have been fine sitting across from me and having a conversation about that. And then we probably would have been able to go off air or off a microphone and been okay, which I appreciated.
Okay. What about you?
You said a lot, so I'll just kind of piggyback on a few points. I think he was brilliant / genius in his understanding of things, his intellect, his ability to retain stuff and recite stuff. Like, I mean, he would be a formidable opponent for anybody.
Yeah.
In the breadth of his knowledge was crazy. And I saw one clip and that he started this, that if I recall, I think the way he started was, and it's probably in a, let's see, I'm trying to think. It would probably been a YouTube type era. This would have been probably pre-social media when people were doing it, where he'd set up a card table and just had a big sign that says "Big Government Sucks."
That was his first thing ever.
I know. And he would just sit there and then people come up and he would talk and debate him. And he was 18 years old. And the vision that he had to create a movement that actually worked. I mean, you're talking about
objectively, yes.
I mean, for what he was doing, it was hugely successful. What Turning Point USA had become. I mean, I think it's very fair to say he was a pretty big piece of Donald Trump getting reelected.
Yes.
The amount of vote that the younger men specifically did was really high, and I think he had a huge part to play in that.
He did.
And so I think I think he's brilliant. I think he was a master communicator / debater.
Yep.
I would say at least a debater in that regard. I think one of the things that I saw most recently, and I'm kind of like with you, I hate that we got robbed of seeing where he go, because I really do believe, and I watched, part of his funeral or the public one they had, and I have, and even when he shared his faith, I have zero question that he had an authentic faith with Jesus, in Jesus. Like, not one bit of question in that. I think it was massively authentic. I think it did inspire a lot of things. Now, you know, where I probably differ is I don't love the enmeshing of politics and faith in the way it's come out, you know, in the way probably he did.
Yes.
I do not, that's not me.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I see it differently.
Yeah.
Those two things.
Yeah.
And that makes it really, I feel like that's made this almost a challenging kind of season, you know, and had to kind of express him. I think one of the things I follow is I've heard clips from some of his close friends who are well known, who have come out and said that even as of late, he was changing positions on a lot of things with Israel, with other things, you know, and I to me, when I see that, I will agree. I think the maturity thing, I've seen some old clips of him, and you know, I thought the way he debated and did things when he was younger was a little more brash, probably a little more insensitive.
Yeah.
A little bit more kind of like just direct, and I'm just going to tell you like it is.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, too bad. And I'm not going to worry about how I say it.
Yeah.
And I think we all know that you can have the truth on your side, but if you don't express it in a way that actually, it's like how you express matters as much as what you're expressing. And that doesn't seem like a commonly held belief today.
No.
On either side.
No.
That how you express something doesn't matter.
Yes.
That just expressing it is all that matters, whether or not you believe it's true.
That's right.
And I have seen, I think even some of the clips that I feel like were later, that I feel like, oh, he's really changed he started to change his posture of how he was talking to different groups and people and things like that to a little bit. It just felt like that. And so I don't know if there was a maturation process, and he was 31 years old. And, you know, I think it's a absolute shame that we do not have an opportunity to see. And I will say, when it comes to his faith, when he spoke about Jesus, there was a level of boldness and courage there that is absolutely admired. I think whenever, and so on that piece, I just want to say, it inspires you if you're a person of faith, to see someone, you know, as bold as he was when he talked about Jesus. I think the other side of that is you get that same boldness when you're talking about your political point of view. And, you know, and how that comes across maybe
to people who think differently than you or have a different perspective.
Sure.
I think was hard. And I remember even, you know, not even in a bad way, before he was killed, you and I had even shared some videos and we're like, well, what do we think about this? And some of his, like, he had some biblical stances for why politics should be, or religion should be mesh with politics. And you and I were having some side conversations about his biblical hermeneutic, which is a big fancy term for just the way you interpret scripture. Was this a good hermeneutic? Is this a good interpretation of that scripture? And
there's places where, again, the right time and moment to pull some of those things apart. I don't want to do it. There's just a way people use scripture sometimes. And he is so sharp at remembering stuff that he would just rattle one after another off. That maybe the context may apply, maybe didn't apply as much, but it helps win your argument. But that's all. I mean, that's what we all do when we're in a debate, in a conversation with somebody, you know.
That's right.
And so, I as just seeing him again, the humanity part of losing someone, and I just don't think we are designed to be able to see. I think the difference is you hear about violence, even political violence. And when you hear about something, it's so different than when you see it. Then in social media and everything, as fast as it gets around and what you visibly see, it kind of shook me. Just like, and it's like, well, you hear about, I didn't see the video of the woman getting stabbed. I saw a clip that week, because again, I feel like it got recirculated as like a very fresh thing, with the guy going up and then just stopped the clip and it was on a news thing. But I guess there's video of the whole thing and I would not want to watch that after I already saw Charlie Kirk. Someone showed me a video.
Anybody I talked to that saw the video was shaken pretty bad by it.
And literally, I saw the video before President Trump announced him dead. I saw the video someone showed me of the up close, like in person. They were like, "Did you see the video?" I was like, "No."
Who showed it to you?
I don't want to say it.
Okay.
And when I saw that, I went, "Oh, he's gone."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like before it was announced. Well, I didn't.
Oh, there was
seen
no
that
doubt.
before. When I saw up close, I was like, "Oh, there's no way you survive that."
No, there's no doubt.
And the doctors say that he didn't feel anything. Probably.
Yeah, it was.
That literally, there's no way you're surviving that.
Yeah.
From what angle I saw, it looked bad.
Yeah,
and so that's just kind of that one is my stomach really dropped.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. I thought about that. I found myself later that night. Just, I think this is an interesting part of the conversation. You bring up social media, just how social media just brings everything to the forefront, and it's just always it's this churning mix of just emotionalism, extremism, intensity, and I'm like, you would hear these declarative statements about like just how awful this is, and it was awful, and I'm like. But to your point about how it just seems like over the last 5 years, there's been thing after thing after thing after thing. And I'm like, we were saying this kind of stuff on January 6th when we saw that kind of political violence. We were saying this stuff through stuff with COVID. We said stuff like this. Granted, it was 20 years ago with 9/11, but like it's crazy to me how it seems like as social media has become more prevalent, how it seems like there's an event like this that happens, and then it fades to the back of our minds so quickly, and then the next thing happens, and then we're like, oh gosh, this is the worst thing ever since that thing. And I'm curious, as you've processed social media's role in this in our culture, what are your thoughts around that?
It's not helpful. That's what I want to say. Social media is not helpful in moments like these. I think for a variety of reasons. I think, again, we're exposed to things that I don't think we probably should be exposed to. I think there's trauma I can imagine of being at that event, physically goes in. I think there's also trauma of seeing it in the way it's circulated. I just don't know that we are built mentally, emotionally to then get lost in seeing people celebrate it, seeing the comments, the back and forth, the hatred. Like, it just is almost depressing when you think about humanity. And I think it's probably the best picture we have of the depravity of mankind is found in social media. If you want, we literally social media is a picture of depravity.
Anything that is gratuitous
dark,
in violence or nudity or sex, you think about going to see a movie. You have to choose to go see a movie. You have to, technically, be at a certain age or accompanied by a guardian to see it. And we are kind of still in the Wild West when it comes to social media. It doesn't matter near almost the gratuity or the traumatizing nature of it. And not only if you want to go see it, but if you don't, the amount of people that said, I didn't want to see it, but it just popped up. There's a lot of mental health analysts talking about how damaging that was. But
yeah, I mean, this phrase or this axiom is true, that you become what you behold. And I just think that, like, there are teenagers who saw that. I was speaking to a high school football team that a couple days after it happened, and they probably 90 to 95% of them had seen the video. High school kids seeing this video. I talked to someone today whose 15-year-old kid saw it. You know what I mean? Like,
you're not designed to carry that.
No, and think about, like, first responders. Okay, we have a circle here at church in our community for first responders. Because they have to see and process a lot of things like that. Okay, but all of a sudden, you're now exposing the masses to this kind of stuff.
Trauma.
It would not surprise me if in 12 to 18 months you see a crazy increase of traumatic responses of people who've had to deal with this kind of stuff. And I think you have seen, and we are dealing with, and I think we would be remiss if we wouldn't say that you said it seemed almost dystopian, or would you say it was an extreme view to label social media that way, or it was darker? I think we'd be remiss to not say that there isn't lurking behind the influence of social media an evil, demonic force that wants to hold captive our attention and turn us away from things that are good, beautiful, and true.
Devil's playground, the social media.
It really is.
Sad, but true.
So going into that Sunday, what are your thoughts? Because I mean, I know, I think you and some pastors are going to have some, some conversation. There's been a lot of talk. If you didn't say this, I think both of y'all, I feel like we're a little safe in some of my questions. But when it comes to Charlie Kirk, I would say, because here's the reality. He was a polarizing figure, whether you love him or hate him. I would echo y'all's thoughts. A few things I appreciate about him. He's courageous. I love the open format. That I'm going to go. Yeah. Somebody said he lived his life playing an away game where he went to college campuses that a lot of them would be mostly hostile. Yeah. And I love the fact that he gave platform to people that disagree with him, and he had to respond on the spot, and his wittiness and his quickness, not just his eloquence, but like you said, it spoke to his mind. He was incredibly intelligent. He's incredibly studied. It does seem like his faith was authentic. And I also, like you said, I've heard people talk about in the last couple of years, because you forget most of what we know from him is in his 20s. And it doesn't give you a free pass. But I think when you're in your 20s, especially if you have, like you said, you have your lane and a sense of mission, there's a sense of passion and intensity that comes there that can take you to great places, but also get you in trouble. Yeah. And so I applaud all of that. He was not my go-to or my cup of tea. I hope that's okay. I think this should be a safe place for us just to process, because there are all kind of people that listen to this too. Yep. I would probably maybe phrase it even stronger than you. I really struggle with anybody that marries spirituality with politics. Like to me, it's a really big deal. Because I think that marrying, I think the Christian national, I think is actually toxic, and I actually think it's really dangerous. And so I really, really struggle with that. And so I struggled with him because of that. And it was really tough for me. And then I would see clips of it. It is so interesting. Number one, let me say this: I would not want all of my comments. And when I think of all the things I've said that I'm sure if there was a loudspeaker to put on social media, the amount of things I've said that I regret. So I have grace for that. But it is interesting, again, having looked up clips, the good and the bad, I saw so many clips that I'm like, oh my gosh, like you can feel his compassion. You can feel that he cares for the person. You can feel, and then I saw other clips and I'm like, I don't know if there's enough context to not make that have been rudeness or that person feel diminished. And then you have, I want to give voice to people that listen to this that are, because I have a lot of friends that are like, actually, I'm really grieved by how much I feel like both sides have either demonized him or lionized him. And there are people that feel grieved. I have a black friend who loves Jesus and is like, I couldn't stomach watching the memorial because I feel like he's a racist. Yeah. And so you have AOC,
and I just want to include that. It really depends on whatever an algorithm feeds up is to feed that, because I've seen clips that you'd read and you go, man, what you just said and how you just said it and all that, you are leaving a lot of room open for interpretation that you're racist. Yeah. And then I've seen other ones that would say the counter. And so I think part of it is we don't understand this and can't communicate as a nation because our algorithms are feeding us different pictures of a same person.
And that's why I said, that's why I did what I did that weekend when I took time off social media. I really tried to trick the algorithms, and I tried to watch all of them. And it's funny, I'm going to out them, but Kevin posted, on social media, he goes, I spent 2 hours on the phone with my brother that I really disagree with in Christ. And I was that brother. Me and him, he called Sonny and I, especially, I don't even know if we'll make it to this on this podcast, but the memorial and all that's come out of that is a whole other conversation. But him and I see some of this different. We spoke for 2 hours, and it was amazing because I was able to have so many conversations with people that are so passionate on either side of this. And, when it comes to the racist stuff, one of the things I loved, he sent me clips that gave context. Okay, because a lot of people were like, well, he said this about the civil rights. And so he sent me, TikToks that give context. And some of the stuff I'm like, oh, that actually does. I do feel like maybe he was unfairly portrayed with that. But then there's other things that he had patterns saying that I'm like, I don't know that I've seen yet. Great context to cover that up. And again, I would never demonize anybody anyways, but I think it is I think it's important to say people are coming at this. You know, you made a comment about politics. I think it's just so true, especially now. Politics is not a thing; it's a lens, and people are bringing very clear lens to how they see this.
Yep.
Even from a spiritual, like this is revival, God's moving, and then other people look at this and they're like, we have Christianity married with Trumpism, and it's going to turn off everybody we know on the left that could be open to Jesus. And this more and more blending, and what some people would say, some people would say, I mean, and I know I love, somebody I never thought I'd say this, but I love, is it Bill Maher right now? I was telling somebody the other day, one of the things I love about him is he's one of the few people. So one of my least favorite phrases right now is take a stand. And I think I would have courage for anybody that has, or I'd have respect for anybody that has the courage to take a stand against both sides. And Bill Barr is one of the few people that's done that. So he comes out and, Fox News, of course, was promoting this. He comes out and he calls out the Emmys for not saying a word about Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm like, as he should. Like, they're so far left and they're so hateful of anything on the right. They couldn't even have a recognition of one of them. I mean, you talk about almost MLK level, or, the shooting, a lot of people are comparing almost like JFK, how just horrifying it is in nature. And the fact they didn't say anything else about it. And so, Fox talked about that. Then the same breath, Bill Maher comes out and attacks the right and Trump's response to use this as a weapon against free speech, which, of course, CNN airs that. And I'm like, part of me, I almost just have respect for anybody that has the courage to either peacefully take time to process, or if you're going to call things out, call all of it out. And I just think there's so much going on. And I think it's just important to, recognize that people look at this from a variety of different ways. And, based on how you look at it, you're probably like, oh my gosh, why is the church talking about it so much? Don't they know that he represents a threat to my race? Don't you know he represents a threat? Don't you know the hateful, divisive, blah, blah, blah? And then other people are like, why are y'all not using this as a stand to declare revival in our land? And one of the reasons I think it's important for us to process this is there's just, I think, more complexity than everybody that's so certain brings to the table.
Great point. I agree.
Might be canceled for
No. I think you're. Again, this is why I was trying to bring up the point that we live in a very polarizing society, and we have been polarized. My social media, big tech companies, like this is what they want, And so I don't think we can see with nuance. I don't think we can see how I mean, even just the language that empathy is toxic,
which he said that.
Yeah, I mean, just even that. Like, I don't totally disagree. With that. There are things that in that regard, and some clips I saw even afterwards, I'm like, no, I would not say something like that or whatever. And that's okay for him to do that.
About George Floyd or the attack on Pelosi's husband.
There's a lot of things that just show me that it was a political, that was the political side of him. And I think what's hard is that we all are multifaceted people, including Charlie Kirk was.
Yes.
We're multifaceted, and you can have a true faith in Jesus, and your political lens can cause you to see Scripture and to see things a certain way. And you can be a follower of Jesus, and your political lens and your cultural lens can cause you to see Scripture a completely different way. This has been ongoing for a long time. This is nothing new. So I think even going into Sunday, I knew that I was like, I want to speak to the moment. I think it was also new and fresh, and there was a lot of reaction, a lot of response. I was conflicted in the fact that, not that I was deeply saddened by what happened, that I wasn't bothered by what happened, that I was in a way angry about what happened. Like, just the thought of like one person, if it is one person choosing to take someone out, to take someone's story out, silence their voice, to do that. Like that is just, I just can't get over that. That to me is just so, there is evil in every sense of the word. It is just evil in the deepest way. It's evil. And that's where part of me is like, okay, there's probably also something spiritual behind all of this.
That's right.
And so it's like trying to process all that and all of the reaction, both sides and both ways politically, because he wasn't just a person of faith. He was also a political figure.
Yeah.
He, without being a politician, he was by his choosing, he lived in the world of politics.
So here's the question we got. I know you're heading towards Sunday, but was he a martyr?
He was a martyr for his beliefs. This is where I probably would differ with some of the pastors and people that I heard that say he was a martyr for his faith. I think he was a martyr for his beliefs. And I've heard pastors try to tie his political beliefs into scripture and say, therefore, he was a martyr for his faith. And I know there's some people that I know and love that would see it differently, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. Again, we're all just looking at this. I think he was a martyr for his political beliefs. I think where he lived conservatively and the way he went after certain cultural topics and groups of people, he created a lot of enemies in how he did it. And I may agree with most of the position that he was on. I would not talk that way, but that's me. That's again, I'm not in the world of politics. There's a reason why I'm not out on college campuses doing this. My story and my life is devoted to the gospel of Jesus, not to American politics.
That's right.
Not to a conservative movement, not to anything like that. His is not that story. I mean, that wasn't his calling. His story is politics, and it was about America, and it was about conservative America, and it was about a political ideology. That was kind of, I feel like, was his story, though also a true follower of Jesus. Both are true. They're and so it's what's hard is like you're talking about. I feel the same way. I've said it on this podcast. I've said it before on Sunday. I think Christian nationalism is it comes from an evil source. I really do. And I there's so many things I loved about Charlie Kirk. When he was asked if you're a Christian nationalist, he said no. And so but then he said, I'm a Christian and a nationalist. And then he used this kind of witty way of nuancing that out. But in many ways, it was, there was the level of you can't sometimes separate when people do use your faith to justify your political view.
Well, he was the common thread tying those two things together.
And so
in his personality.
And so I knew that created this very divisive type of moment in leading a church through it. A church that is not devoted to politics, whether it's right or left.
So did you just not have the courage?
No, that's not it. And I responded to people that wrote in about that.
And people listening hopefully know I'm asking that tongue in cheek.
Yes, you are. I have no problem speaking up, but there's a couple things about what I said on Sunday. Because people would say, I didn't say enough. I had, people that think I probably said too much. I could tell by one clip that I posted in response that, I can't believe you'd support this. What I wanted to address on Sunday, because I even asked some of the other pastors in the area, I said, this was like 2 days before. I said, are you going to say anything about this whole moment this week, the weight of it? Because we all felt it. Like I didn't want to, in my mind, I'm like, I'm not going to show up at church and just ignore what it feels collectively. Even if people feel differently about it, everybody feels something about it.
Was up.
It was up a little bit. And so there is I recognize that people are feeling something. I also recognize, and I have enough wisdom to understand not everybody feels the same about it.
That's right.
So my goal was to approach, we're all feeling something about this in a different way. And I didn't look at this as a moment to capitalize for some type of like political Christian,
because some people look at this as such a spiritual moment. Yes, this time to take a stand.
I just need somebody to explain what take a stand. Here's the thing. I understand take a stand. There is a lot of evil going on in this world, which is what I wanted to address. And I really do believe there's spiritual influence behind the evil in this world. If I'm going to take a stand, it's going to be against the spiritual and demonic powers in this world.
Amen.
What most people say when they go, well, I hope my pastor takes a stand, is what you're really saying is, I hope my pastor takes my stand.
Yes.
Yes.
And I've gotten response from people. We don't all have the same stand politically in this community.
Yep. Because
It's important you say that politically.
Politically. I'm not saying
so-
faith and Christian. I'm just saying politically, we don't all have the same stance.
Because I hope this is okay for me to say. This is just our conversation about this. I've had people. I actually think it's safe to say we've had people in the last year that no longer attend here because we've not quote unquote taken a stand on the other side. I know people that fear God, love Jesus, love the scriptures, who feel like we should have taken, and the church at large should have taken a stronger stance this year to speak up for those who have no voice. That in their view, I'm not saying it right or wrong, you have the side, that they look at, and again, we all have a lens based on what kind of media we're consuming, where we're coming from, what kind of political echo chamber we're in. But in their view, and in their personal relationships, they feel like immigrants are scared to death. And they look at everything that's happening with ICE. They look at what they look at as lack of freedom of speech. They look at other political violence, people that have lost their lives on the left because of what they would say is divisive, hateful rhetoric from Trump. They would look at all the things that have happened, the joking about, alligator Alcatraz. That you go, and the poor and the health stuff that's been slashed. And I see it. I think my social media feed's equally divided of people on the right and the left. And I got a lot of people on the left. A lot of them, Jesus-loving people saying, where is the church? If Scripture says to stand up for anything, it's the poor, it's the marginalized, it's the immigrant, where is the church standing up? And here's what I mean by everybody seems to be so clear, is the moment this happened with Charlie Kirk, I had a lot of my friends on the right who haven't said a word about that seems so clear. Where is everybody's courage to stand up?
Yeah.
And so,
just I think from what I've seen, people think that about the other side, because I saw people also saying for those people who posted black squares during Black.
Sure, we're going way back.
Yeah,
way back.
Okay, if you said something about this, then why are you not saying something about this too? Just to present the other side there.
Sure. And I actually think it's really interesting. And I actually thought this was a really fair argument. One of my friends that is very conservative, one of his frustrations is he's like, when everything that happened with George Floyd, he goes, I knew George Floyd was not a perfect man. He wasn't a martyr. He was a victim. He said, but I risked being misunderstood by, quote unquote, my political party and people to stand up for him. And he said, and I just don't feel like any of that's being reciprocated now. He's like, because I'm not now, just like George Floyd, I'm not comparing the two at all, please don't write me a letter. But he's like, now that it's on the other side, he said, I feel like there's nobody willing to say, hey, we may not agree with him, we may not whatever. But I
think there have been people that I've seen that have done that. The problem is I think our social media doesn't show us the real thing, because I've seen people that have gotten on there who said, there's that one guy, who's the one guy, is he from CNN? Who's the one guy?
Jake Tapper?
No. The one guy, the black guy who...
Van Jones.
Is that Van Jones?
Yes.
Who got on there even a couple days later and didn't even realize that Charlie Kirk had reached out to him because he was like, he even said there was no... We had a beef on social media, and I think it was over race, right? Yeah. And so we had a beef on that. Yeah. And he was like, I didn't realize until like 2 days after he was killed that my team told me that he had actually sent a DM to me, reaching out to me saying, I'd love to have you on my show. We can agree to disagree. I know we'll be gentlemen to do this, like blah, blah, blah. And he was kind of shook by that, because he was like, everything I just keep hearing is he's hateful, he's this. And I'm like, but then here he is doing this. And so I did see some people on the left who came out and said, this is awful. The one Texas...
Did Bill Maher say he had a conversation with him?
Bill Maher?
I thought so.
With who?
Charlie Kirk? No?
Oh, I don't know.
There was somebody that basically said, there's, on the far left, that was like, I had my thoughts about Charlie Kirk, and then I had a conversation with him, and I was just thinking, man, this is just a normal guy that I can actually have a conversation with.
Yeah, and the Texas senator who's all over the news, I can't remember his name. You know what I'm talking about?
John Cornyn.
The main guy who's been...
Ted Cruz.
No, the guy who's a Democrat, who's been a part of all the things happening in Texas, and he ran for the presidential nomination
when
He
Biden
did?
when Biden won the nomination.
I
in
don't remember
2020.
that, but he may have. But this guy, I felt like I wish I could get his name, but I could tell he had a real. Here's what's interesting. I could tell he has a real authentic faith in Jesus. I mean, he spoke very clearly about it. He's on the left, right? You know, you got people on the right who's got. He has a very clear faith in Jesus, and he came out and just denounced the. He was like, "This is
James.
That's him.
James Tallarico.
I think that's him.
Yes, it is.
And,
He's running
he,
for Senate.
but what I'm saying is there are people on the left that did.
Yeah.
I think the problem that we have today in our world is everybody's algorithms. We're so stuck in our echo chambers that we go, all we saw were the people who were laughing and hating if you were on the right, if you were on the left, all you saw were the people who were yelling for war.
Yeah.
And it's why? Because I mean, this is what these companies, they make money on this.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, I've heard some people step up a little bit bigger, and I think it was even Professor
Galloway. Yep.
He even said,
It's not going to stop.
He was like, this is what the big tech companies want.
Money.
He was like, there's a bigger thing at play.
Well, and that's what I mean when I say, like, can't go back to the whole everybody seems certain thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
We're not even getting into conspiracies.
there's a couple, like, to me, there's a couple things that I am clear about. What happened to Charlie Kirk was evil and horrific. I'm clear on that. Our country is. I'm the hopeless optimist, and I believe there's revival and things possible. Our country is really broken.
Yeah.
Like the soul of our nation is really sick right now.
Yep.
I'm clear on that.
Yep.
Jesus and everything he brings and the hope is desperately needed. I'm clear on that.
Yep.
When it comes to what all's to blame, that's where I'm like, and that's where I think oversimplistic answers just aren't helpful. Because some people say, well, what's clear is the left is evil. I've even heard people say talking about the whole thing with Kimmel. They're like, I've seen this tweet. You know, they are okay with murder, but not okay with. And I'm like, the moment we begin to say they, and so I'm like, okay, I'm clear on this is evil. I'm also clear that we have had a heightened, divisive political rhetoric for about 8 to 10 years now that's getting worse and worse and worse on both sides.
Yeah,
I'm also clear we have a mental health problem. I'm also clear we have an algorithm problem. I'm also clear we have a gun violence problem. I don't think I'm allowed to say that, but we do.
We do. We also have a young male problem because all of this violence can be traced back to young men.
There's so much.
So I mean that's one of the things that Galloway talks about a lot. Like there is a significant problem that we're overlooking right here, holistically as a nation.
Yep. To land the plane, just this thought. This is not my quote, but it is really good. I just want to share it. It seems to summarize all of this conversation that we're in a cultural moment that seems to prefer being quick to speak, slow to listen, and furious in our anger. And you see all this reaction, you see all this response through that lens. Quick to speak, slow to listen, furious in our anger. Juxtapose that with what James says. He says, my dear brothers and sisters, understand this. Everyone should be what?
Slow to speak.
Quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For human anger does not accomplish God's righteousness. So I think as we kind of wrap up this first conversation about it, I think as you're just processing with other people and your family members, and as you're processing things on social media and you're seeing things, for the love of God, can you please apply this lens of being quick to listen? Listen to people who maybe have a different perspective than you. Like, don't feel like you have to even respond in a moment. Sometimes being curious, okay, which I kind of equate with being quick to listen, like necessitates not responding. Just ask questions and just listen to what people have to say. And then give people the benefit of the doubt. When we think about slow to anger, give people the benefit of the doubt when it comes to what you're seeing them respond. Because people could be responding in a moment just because our algorithms and our culture and our society demands that they respond in a moment. And later on, they'll realize, oh, shoot, what I said that was wrong. Like, that was bad. Like, so give people the benefit of the doubt as you're going. And I just think, gosh, if we just applied those principles, could we start to see the level come down a little bit around this event and in our nation and what's going on right now? And I just think that there's a lot of wisdom in applying that verse.
I think that's great. And I think have long, slow, deep, meaningful conversations with people who see the world differently than you. Then destroy all your algorithms.
With people, yeah.
Say what?
Embodied, like with people.
Yeah, with people. Yeah. And then I thought, I actually am proud of the way our church has handled it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am glad that I think all three of us have been really try to be slow to post, slow to draw conclusions. I think all of us have tried to be really open to listen to all sides and really try to just understand. But then I think you said something really powerful when you did address it, which it seems so obvious that we overlook it, which is to first process with God.
Yeah.
To actually take our emotions to the presence of God.
Yeah. Well,
and I think most of us are quicker to take our emotions to a post first.
Yep.
Or to an argument, and I just think humility. Again, I was almost encouraged, discouraged that I'm like, man, I feel like I'm a fairly sound-minded person, and but I was like, man, I must just be the idiot because everybody in the world just seems so certain of everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but in a way it encouraged me. I'm like, maybe this is a sign that I really am just open and trying to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just to wrap up, I just want to say about even the response on Sunday. I think number one, I knew that we would sit around this table and have an actual conversation, a long form conversation. And I'm sure we'll have more. There's so many pieces we didn't even get to touch on this. And so I knew that. Number two, I think in the moment, what my response was, or what prompted my response in the way it was thinking, I feel like what we need right now, and again, this is probably where I differed pretty significantly from a lot of other pastors and other leaders. I feel like the last thing we need was a call to arms. I felt like what we needed in that moment was a way for people to actually dial down the rage and the response. And so what I wanted to do in that moment, look, I knew we have times, like a lot of times we have these big moments and everybody just demands that you show your cards. That's almost what it feels like.
Yeah.
Opposed to show your cards.
Yeah.
Did you like them? Did you not like them? Are you for Jesus? Are you not for Jesus? Like, it's just stop with this binary type, world that we've just created out of social media. And so I thought, if anything, I know people are coming here to church and they're coming from different perspectives politically.
Yeah.
They might have all agree like, this is awful thing that happened in our country. And I had conversations that Sunday, one right after another, with one person who was like, I was so devastated. This was a hero of mine. To another person go, I would not celebrate anybody's death, but I don't mourn in that way other people are mourning.
Yeah.
And, I literally had those two conversations back to back on Sunday. And it's just crazy. And so I know that. I know who's there. And I felt like, and this is not what all the Christian influencers, the 22-year-old Christian influencers out there who were trying to jump on a viral moment and put pressure on pastors. This is not what some of those pastors that have landed one place very clearly politically wanted. But I felt like this moment needs for us, all I see is the evil of the response. It's like the reaction, the response is just as evil. You go read the comments and you're like, gosh, we are just, and all I see is, I saw a post from some guy who was like, this means war. Yep. This is it. We're blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I think what we need to do is figure out how to dial down the anger and the rage and the emotion for a little bit so that we can just even process as a nation and we can figure out how to not end up here again. Yes. And that's not what anybody wants. They want everybody just to post and put something out there and show your cards and show your side. And I wasn't going to do that.
No.
I'm like, no, I think what real leadership is recognizing in this moment of like, everybody's really emotional right now. People are reacting and responding. And as I'm talking to a community of faith of different political persuasions, my goal is to go, let's respond like Jesus. And if we can't respond like Jesus because we have not processed our emotions well, maybe we need to do that with God first.
Because when you don't process your emotions like this, especially on a particular side, you really conflate culture war with spiritual war.
Yeah.
And you go to war and you make people your enemy. And I think that's so true. And I think it is possible for us to have hearts big enough with space for all people.
Yeah.
Because I had people texting me that were grieving, people that just came to faith a year ago that were like, even though I just came to faith a year ago, I feel like he's been my mentor from afar for the last 8 years. And would you pray for me? I'm praying for people that are grieving for him as I'm grieving for his family.
Yeah.
And then I have people come to me on Sunday, still in tears, still just. And so I want to give that space, even to anybody listening that has been, because I think one of y'all said it, like some people felt like that he was almost like a brother to them from afar and was a huge spiritual influence to them. I just want space in my heart to grieve with them.
Yeah.
Somebody said, who is it? They were like, can you imagine? Because there's certain people I listen to on a podcast every week. They're like, can you imagine somebody that you listen to on a podcast every week?
Yeah.
And this happens?
Yeah.
And they're a spiritual influence?
Yeah.
And then I also want to have in my heart an awareness of it. It takes a lot of just complexity, but I think it's an important complexity to be able to celebrate the seeds of revival where they're true, to be able to celebrate God where he's moving, and to also have your guard up against the things that you think could be detrimental to the mission of Jesus.
That's right.
Yeah.
And to grieve. I don't have to be a huge Charlie Kirk podcast fan to be heartbroken over the evil and denounce clearly the evil that happened to him.
That's right.
And I think all three of us would say our hearts break for Erica and the family. And oh my gosh, we'll get to this later, but Erica's moment.
Oh, well, let's save
night,
another. I think there's definitely another episode to talk about, even just the moment after, and kind of like what is the causing the response of people in certain areas, demographics, and churches. Like, what is there a resurgence of that in church? What's prompting that? Is everybody seeing that? I think there's a lot to unpack there. We have a lot of thoughts on those. I think that would be best to save for another episode, but just thought it would be good for us to just process this a little bit out loud for those who think we're just going to ignore it. No, we're not going to ignore it. We're trying to use wisdom. And at the end of the day, on a Sunday gathering, our goal is to lift up the name of Jesus. Our goal is to put our focus on him. And that's what we felt like people need in that kind of moment. I don't want to leverage it to appeal to a certain demographic or base because they're angry and want that. That's not why I got into ministry. And the gospel of Jesus is not to be conflated with the gospel of politics or a conservative movement or a liberal movement. Either one, it is not. And there has not been I feel like it's been very convoluted for a lot of people to be able to pull those apart. Yeah. Because of what we've seen in the last several years and what's happened in the last probably, I'd say 4, 5, 6 years. And I'm pretty clear. I knew what I wanted to do on Sunday, and I'm pretty clear of how I feel about confusing the gospel of Jesus with politics.
That's right.
And I'm not going to do it.
That's right.
And if that's not good enough for you, sadly there are places that will, but I want to keep it about Jesus no matter what.
Amen.
Any last thoughts?
Nope. Let's get one in on.
All right. We will continue this conversation, but I'm glad we were able to at least begin it. Yeah. Huge moment in culture. But until next week, we hope you have a great weekend, and send us any questions, thoughts you have, and we will see you next week. Hey guys, it's Russ. Thanks so much for listening. We really believe if we can get around tables instead of behind screens, if we can talk to each other instead of at each other, we can make the world better. To help us do that, here are a few things you can do to help. First, if you haven't yet, leave a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe on YouTube. This helps more than you know. Also, if you have been impacted by the community out of which this podcast comes, that's X Church. Maybe you're local or you've been touched by the messages and impact across the country, even the world. I want to encourage you to support this work. A powerful life principle is to invest in the people and places that invest in you. And so I want to invite you to do that right now by going to thex.church/give. You can give a one-time small gift, a sacrificial gift, or even become a recurring partner.
Together, let's keep elevating the conversation, thinking higher, loving deeper, and making the world better. Cheers.